Just over a century ago, an unknown killer began a reign of terror that would never be forgotten. He stalked his prey in the back streets of London's East End. He was cunning and merciless, and with each attack his bloodlust grew more frenzied. Then, no sooner had he burnt his name deep into criminal history and our imagination than he was gone, and only his phantom remained to terrify successive generations and leave us wondering who he really was. Behind him he had left 5 broken bodies, women on the lowest rung of Victorian society, whose immortality has been guaranteed in death as it never could be in life. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Kelly, whose death brought Jack's brief reign of terror to an end. Since then, the search to discover his identity has continued through a century-old fog that threatened to engulf the truth forever. Then, in 1991, a remarkable document came to light which promised to turn the known facts about the Whitechapel murders of 1888 on their head.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Robert Smith, Managing Director of publishers Smith Griffin Limited. On my right is Shirley Harrison, who is the author of The Diary of Jack the Ripper.
I think if the diary is true, then this solves a 105-year-old murder.
This is the story of that document. A 63-page handwritten account which claimed to have been written by the one person who knew more about Jack the Ripper than anybody else. A journal written by the same man who so far had only been known to the world by his chilling pseudonym, Jack the Ripper.
Whoever Jack the Ripper was, he was a depraved and loathsome creature whose memory, many have argued, should have been buried in the earth beside his unfortunate victims. And yet today he remains, as he has from the very beginning, one of the world's most notorious murderers. But behind 100 years of journalistic hype and sensationalism, there has always been a sincere desire to understand this unknown psychopath's sordid exploits, and hopefully to identify the man behind the legend. Like some faded Rubik cube, the press and public alike have refused to let the puzzle rest unsolved. And with each new twist, Jack's future has been secured, despite the fact that there never has been any real evidence against anyone, including the 3 surviving names that were on the police suspect list at the time. Kosminski, a low-class Polish Jew, and Michael Ostrog, another immigrant. Montague John Druitt, a school teacher and barrister who committed suicide after the murders. In recent years, Queen Victoria's grandson, Prince Albert Edward Victor, the future Duke of Clarence, has become the most popular of suspects, even though he has a cast-iron alibi on each of the nights in question. And so others close to this most royal of rippers have taken their turn in the dock. The Prince's friend and tutor J.K. Stephen, and even 72-year-old Sir William Gull, physician to Queen Victoria. But if that encourages you to believe that we were destined to play the game of Hunt the Ripper by the same rules for another century, perhaps you ought to think again. Believe it or not, this innocuous-looking book has just moved the goalposts. Is it the answer to the mystery that has intrigued successive generations? Or is it a cleverly constructed hoax aimed at an eager and gullible public? Experts considered the options.
No, actually, it isn't part of the historical fact.
You mean he went into his lodgings and then came out and dropped his apron
40 minutes later.
The publication of the journal which claimed to be the confession of Jack the Ripper was the culmination of 18 months' intensive debate and research.
Martin Howells and I are in fact arguing that engaged you do it.
Listen.
I have an open mind, despite the fact I believe it.
But even before the full facts were known, some had already made up their minds.
This is a fake, it's a modern fake. It was penned by someone who most likely was schooled in the 1930s.
More detailed research has been done on this document than has ever been done on any discovery connected with Jack the Ripper.
I believe now, absolutely 100%, that this diary is genuine.
I'm sitting on the fence. I've been on the fence for so long I'm developing piles.
True or false, the responsibility for the journal's entrance centre stage was down to one man, Mike Barrett. His story begins not in the back streets of London, but in his hometown, Liverpool. It was here at the Saddle Inn that he met a retired print worker, Tony Devereux.
I struck up a 3-year acquaintance with him, and we've become very, very good mates. I used to go down every day of the week with his bread and with his milk and his bottle of sherry, and I ended up going down there this particular one day. And he turned around to me and said, "Here you are, Mick, here you are, that's for you." I said, "What the hell is it?" "Take it home and do something with it." I said, "Well, what the hell?" He said, "Take it home and do something with it."
Mike Barrett discovered that his friend's gift was an old leather-bound scrapbook with some pages missing from the front. 63 of the remaining leaves contained a legible, if somewhat untidy, handwritten scrawl. What he read on the first page disturbed him.
"I long for peace of mind, but I sincerely believe that it will not come until I have sought my revenge on the whore and the whoremaster."
As Mike Barrett skimmed through the pages, it became even more clear that this was no ordinary diary.
The thought of him taking her is beginning to thrill me. Tonight I may return to Battle Crease and take the unfaithful bitch.
But it wasn't until he turned to the last page that the full impact of what he was reading really began to sink in.
Is fell off the back of a lorry story, huh? John must have arrested countless people who told him that they got it from a man whose name they didn't know in a pub.
So one doesn't actually believe that, so it's either true or it's such a lame brain story that no great thought's gone into it. Is that what we're saying?
I started doing my research, and the more research I done, the more I seemed to be getting nearer the truth. However, having said that, Tony ended up dying in Walton Hospital with a massive heart attack. So I'm left with a diary that I'm not sure is 100% genuine.
But that's what we're dealing with, and it is unsatisfactory. And now my personal opinion is that I do not believe that Mike Barrett is telling us the whole truth. I'm not saying it's a forgery, and I'm not saying it's genuine. I'm saying my very strong feeling is that there is more to this story.
Tony was never capable of forging. I honestly don't believe he was capable of forging. Okay. So if Tony didn't forge it, where the hell did he get it from?
The first we heard about this, Mike's original story, was that my father handed him this parcel and said, "I want you to take this for being so good for me and looking after me." Well, that was what Mike told me. And I say, he had plenty of people, genuine people, family looking after him, so there's no way you would to give this to a relative stranger. We'd only known for a couple of years on a casual basis. And say his brother. If he ever did have this in his possession, and he didn't want to give it to one of us because of what it was, I'm sure he would have given it to his brother to sort out.
I pressurised that man, and I asked him question after question after question.